My 5-year-old daughter woke me at 2 in the morning and said tiny fish were biting inside her stomach. Hours later, doctors found 36 magnets tearing through her intestines. My husband accused me, but a forgotten camera revealed a betrayal none of us were prepared to see. My name is Claire Whitmore. I was 35 and living outside Columbus, Ohio, with my husband, Brandon, and our daughter, Nancy. Before that night, I believed I had a safe home and a family I could trust. By sunrise, both beliefs were gone. Nancy stood beside my bed in pink pajamas, crying and pressing one hand against her stomach. "Mommy, the fish are hurting me," she whispered. When I lifted her, her body folded against mine. Brandon drove us to suit Augustine General Hospital while I held Nancy in the back seat and promised the doctors would make the fish disappear. A nurse examined her and immediately called a pediatric doctor. Nancy's stomach was swollen and painfully tight. She had eaten very little during the previous few days, but I had assumed she had a virus. Before I tell you what the doctors discovered, please comment below and tell me where you are listening from today. What city or country has Nancy's story reached? I would truly love to know how far this story travels. During the previous week, Evelyn had visited almost every afternoon while Brandon worked late. She helped Nancy with preschool worksheets at the dining table while I cooked or did laundry nearby. Once, Nancy mentioned a special treat that was only for big girls. I assumed it was a mint or a piece of chocolate. When I asked Evelyn about it, she smiled. "Children need private relationships with people besides their mothers," she said. "You worry too much." That comment had bothered me, but Evelyn often criticized my parenting. If I called the doctor, I was anxious. If Nancy ran to me after falling, I made her too dependent. I had treated Evelyn's behavior as irritating but harmless. I did not understand that she was teaching everyone to see my concern as instability, preparing them to doubt me when Nancy finally became seriously ill. The doctor ordered an X-ray. 20 minutes later, he returned with another physician and a police officer. He placed the scan on a bright screen. A chain of white circles curved through Nancy's abdomen like a broken necklace. "Those are magnets," he said. "We count 36. I stared at him. We did not own magnetic toys. He explained that powerful magnets could attract each other through different sections of intestine, trapping tissue between them. Nancy was bleeding internally and needed emergency surgery. Brandon turned toward me. "What did you do to her?" The room went silent. "What did I do?" "You prepare her food. You are with her all day. How could she swallow 36 magnets without you knowing?" His mother, Evelyn, stood near the door with a handkerchief pressed to her mouth. She had arrived minutes earlier, acting like a devastated grandmother. Instead of stopping Brandon, she said, "One must think about what is safest for Nancy." Her words frightened me. She did not sound shocked. She sounded prepared. The nurses took Nancy towards surgery. A police officer asked who spent the most time alone with her. Brandon answered, "Claire does." Evelyn began crying. I knew that defending myself emotionally would not be enough. I forced myself to remember every meal, visitor, and object Nancy had touched. Then I remembered our dining room camera. I had installed it months earlier to discover which puppy was chewing our furniture. It sat on a bookshelf facing the dining table and saved recordings to an account under my email. Everyone had forgotten about it. I took out my phone. "There may be footage," I told the officer. "Please examine it." Brandon frowned. Evelyn stopped crying for half a second. That half second changed everything. Officer Daniel Ruse asked me to open the account at the police station. Leaving Nancy during surgery felt unbearable. But I needed the truth protected before anyone could erase it. At the station, Detective Maria Kessler from the Child Abuse Unit joined us. "Everyone with regular access to Nancy must be considered," she said. "That includes you, Brandon, and Evelyn. The fact that you brought us this evidence will be documented." My hands shook as I entered my password. The archive showed ordinary family moments. Nancy coloring. Our dog running beneath the table. Brandon eating breakfast. Then we reached Tuesday afternoon. Evelyn sat across from Nancy with a silver mint tin beside her. Nancy finished a worksheet and held out her palm as if they had practiced the gesture many times. Evelyn looked toward the kitchen. She tipped the tin and dropped something small into Nancy's hand. Nancy swallowed it. "Pause," Kessler said. Ruiz enlarged the image. It was grainy, but the object carried a dull metallic shine. It was a magnet. The camera microphone caught Evelyn whispering, "Do not tell Mommy. She worries too much." And Nancy nodded because she trusted her grandmother. We checked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the weekend. The same tin appeared. The same trusting hand opened. 36 magnets over 6 days. Every one of them was on camera. I expected to feel relief because the recording cleared me. Instead, I felt as if the floor had disappeared. Evelyn had held Nancy as a newborn, attended her birthdays, and called her my little star. Now I was watching her feed metal to my child while smiling. Kessler called officers at the hospital. When we returned, Evelyn was sitting beside Nancy's empty bed. The moment she saw the officers, she knew. Evelyn Whitmore, Kessler said. Step into the hallway. Brandon arrived carrying 2 coffees. He stopped when the detective explained what the recording showed. He set the cups down and looked at his mother. Tell them they are wrong. Evelyn opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Tell them, Mom. She began to cry. This time, Brandon did not comfort her. Nancy came out of surgery near sunrise. Dr. Amari Bell told us several magnets had locked together through separate loops of intestine. He had repaired 2 tears and removed damaged tissue. She was stable, but the next 48 hours were critical. I sat beside her and held her hand. Around 4 a.m, Brandon finally spoke. I accused you, he said. I was terrified. You were the person with her most often. You chose to believe I could hurt our daughter before you looked at any evidence. Fear explains that choice, but it does not erase it. He lowered his head. I am sorry. I told him forgiveness would take time. 2 days later, police arrested Evelyn. A search of her house uncovered an empty box for a 36-piece rare earth magnet toy. They also found the silver tin, freshly washed. Evelyn hired an expensive attorney named Franklin Doyle. He claimed she had given Nancy children's vitamins and suggested the camera footage had been altered. For a moment, fear returned. I knew the recordings were real, but truth and proof are not always the same. A digital examiner named Thomas Reyes checked the camera, cloud uploads, device records, and independent server logs. Every timestamp matches, he said. These recordings have not been changed. I will testify to that. Then Child Protective Services opened an investigation into our entire home. A caseworker inspected our refrigerator, medicines, bedrooms, and marriage. I hated feeling like a suspect, but I answered every question. 11 days later, her report cleared me and identified Evelyn as the only danger to Nancy. The medical crisis was not over. 9 days after the first operation, Nancy developed a fever. A scan revealed a hidden perforation and a dangerous infection. She needed a second surgery. Brandon and I waited 6 hours without speaking. During the 4th hour, he reached for my hand. I let him hold it. It was not forgiveness. We were simply 2 terrified parents waiting for our child. Dr. Bell finally entered. She is stable, he said. He believed Nancy would recover fully. I asked whether a 5-year-old could accidentally swallow 36 magnets over 6 days. No, he replied. Someone controlled the number and timing. This was deliberate. The evidence that destroyed Evelyn's defense came from her online shopping history. 4 months before Nancy became sick, Evelyn had ordered 1 rare earth magnet set. It contained exactly 36 pieces. The prosecutor, Priya Anand, explained that buying the magnets months earlier proved planning. The charge became aggravated child abuse, but I still needed to understand why. Brandon had an older brother named Kyle. Years earlier, during Kyle's divorce, a judge had restricted Evelyn's access to his son because she tried to undermine the child's mother. Evelyn was allowed only 2 supervised visits each year. She believed the court had stolen her grandson. During questioning, Evelyn told detectives she would not lose another grandchild to a woman who did not deserve one. Her plan was terrifyingly simple. If doctors blamed me for Nancy's injuries, a judge might remove Nancy from my custody and place her with Brandon. Evelyn believed her son would then let her return. Nancy's suffering had been a tool in her custody plan. All her earlier comments suddenly made sense. She had never viewed motherhood as care. She viewed it as ownership. She knew I prepared Nancy's meals and attended every medical appointment. She expected those ordinary responsibilities to become evidence against me. She also knew Brandon trusted her, and his accusation in the hospital proved that part of her plan had nearly worked. The betrayal was larger than the magnets. Evelyn had studied our family, found every weak point, and used our trust to create the perfect suspect. If the camera had not been running, I might have spent months trying to prove my innocence while she stood beside Brandon pretending to protect Nancy from me. If the magnets had not worked, would she have continued? I asked. Priya met my eyes, believed she would have found another way. My fear became determination. I did not want revenge that looked like cruelty. I wanted evidence, boundaries, and consequences. I wanted every legal door closed forever. 2 weeks after the emergency room, Evelyn made one final move. At 11 at night, my family attorney, Grace Whitfield, called. Franklin Doyle had filed an emergency custody motion. He argued that because I had briefly been listed as a person of interest, Brandon should receive sole temporary custody. Buried in the motion was a request for Evelyn to receive visitation. She was trying to use the chaos she created to return through a side door. The hearing was at 9 the next morning. I spent the night at the dining table building a green binder. It contained the authenticated footage, server records, medical opinion, Child Protective Services report, photograph of the empty box, purchase history, and criminal charges. Brandon printed documents and made coffee. At 3 in the morning, he looked at me. I am sorry I made her believe this plan could work. Tomorrow, do not defend or explain her, I said. Sit beside me and tell the truth? He did. In court? Doyle spoke about caution and family instability. He never mentioned the magnets. Grace presented every exhibit without raising her voice. Judge Alina Alvarez read the binder in silence. Then she looked at Doyle. The footage is authentic. The medical evidence rejects accidental ingestion. The purchase predates the injury. Child Protective Services cleared the mother and identified your client as the danger. This motion is denied in full. The judge turned toward Evelyn's video screen. Using a child's medical trauma as a path back into that child's life will not help you in this court or any future court. Evelyn's wounded expression vanished. Anger replaced it. That was my revenge. I did not shout or threaten her. I watched the system she tried to manipulate close around her, one verified fact at a time. 7 months later, Evelyn pleaded guilty to aggravated child abuse. The judge sentenced her to 9 years in prison and issued a permanent no-contact order protecting Nancy. Brandon never spoke to his mother again. Nancy is 6 now. We moved to a smaller house in another neighborhood. Her school is 4 blocks away, and our dining room is painted bright blue. There is no camera on the bookshelf because only people we trust are invited to our table. One afternoon, Nancy asked, "Why did Grandma give me shiny candy?" I told her that Grandma had something wrong in her thinking that made her do something dangerous. You trusted her because children should be able to trust the adults who love them. I said, it was never your fault. She in timeout. Les, a very long-grown up timeout that keeps you safe. Then Nancy asked for a milkshake. I said yes and cried quietly in the drive through where she could not see me. Brandon and I are still married, but trust did not return overnight. We attend counseling and rebuild it through small choices. Our marriage carries a visible fracture, but it holds. Before I end, let me summarize. Someone secretly gave my daughter 36 powerful magnets, and suspicion immediately fell on me. A forgotten camera revealed that her grandmother had planned everything. Medical records, digital evidence, and a shopping receipt proved the truth. Evelyn hoped to remove me from my daughter's life, but when she tried to turn the crime into a custody case, I answered with facts. She lost access to Nancy, faced prison, and my daughter recovered safely. This story taught me that betrayal does not always come from an enemy. Sometimes it wears a familiar face and disguises control as love. It also taught me that justice is not always loud. Sometimes justice is a timestamp, a doctor's signature, an ordinary receipt, or a mother who stays awake all night organizing the truth. Thank you for listening to Nancy's story. If it moved you, please like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you are listening from and what justice means to you. Please follow or subscribe, and I will see you in the next story. Evelyn tried to use my daughter's trust as a weapon. In the end, the truth took that weapon away and gave Nancy something far more powerful than revenge, a safe tomorrow.